Hi everyone, welcome to explore what's actually behind the phone number and what you can do or how you can evolve your voice AI agents. I'm Dilek, I'm a group product manager here at Cognigy, and I see a lot of familiar faces, so everyone that knows me will also know that if I'm on stage, I will of course talk about my favorite topic, which is voice. So we will actually start by looking into the evolution of voice experiences, because this is actually pretty interesting of how everything evolved and where we currently are. And one thing that I think everyone knows about are our lovely IVR systems. That's how everything started. We had the lovely DTMF menus where they were basically just used for routing, and we had like those really robotic voices, and maybe someone remembers things like this.
Welcome to our customer service. For account information, please press 1. For insurance claims, please press 2. For billing and payment, please press 3.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure we're all really happy that we do not use this anymore, that we can actually have proper conversations. And that is basically how the journey also continued. We then went more into conversational AI. We didn't only have the routing options, but we were able to have a proper communication with it. So as you heard, I did press a button. It was for billing and payment. So let's see what our bot will tell us.
You selected billing and payment. I can help you with checking an invoice or making a payment.
Okay, I actually just would like to know about opening hours because I want to have a new credit, so I would like to come to the bank to talk to someone.
Sorry, I couldn't understand you. I can help you with checking an invoice or making a payment.
And I think this is something that a lot of people heard before as well, because, of course, when we had the deterministic flows, you needed to configure the intents. You needed to make sure that you have example sentences. And if you did not configure it, well, you are always here. I'm sorry, I could not understand you. And that is how we moved on to the era of LLMs, where we now have more human-like AI agents. You can actually have proper conversations with them. You can even do small talk with them. So let me check if I can maybe now know about the opening hours.
Oh, hi, Dilek. Sure, our opening hours are Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and on Thursday, we're even open until 6 p.m. If I remember correctly, you usually prefer the latest possible appointment because of work. Would you like me to schedule one for you?
Okay, of course, we're not going to schedule something. And as a product manager for voice, of course, I had to use my own voice. That needed to be in there. And now if you think about it, what's next? How else can you actually improve all of those conversations? And let's actually go through a real-life scenario. Because what you just heard is that we actually evolved the entire intelligence behind voice, but we didn't touch anything regarding the UI and the actual experience of the customer. So currently, if a customer, let's say they have some kind of emergency, they're currently on their laptop and realize, OK, I really need to get in touch with customer service, so what do? They go onto the website, they found out the contact information, and then they need to get their phone to actually call. And what happens? Basically, they're not in this entire digital experience anymore, but they have two different devices that they need to move in between. And this is, of course, something we would like to change, because the easier the customers can actually reach out, the better experience they will have, and their problems will hopefully get solved quicker. And that is why, with our WebRTC product, we will actually make sure that voice becomes a part of the UI and a part of the actual interaction from the customers. You already heard a little bit about this yesterday in the product keynote that Sebastian held. And basically what we can do, or what we will be able to do with WebRTC, is that it completely becomes a part of the actual interface. So you will be able, or your customers will be able to use voice as like a control surface that is embedded in any front end. It might be your website, your customer portal. It might even be any mobile app that you have created for your customers. The UI and the conversation will always be in sync. And when I say in sync, this doesn't mean that it's only, oh, OK, you have a widget, you have a nice transcript, but you can really interact with the actual UI. We will have a look into that in a second, actually. And basically, whatever the customer says, the UI will adapt to that, to whatever the customer also needs. So it will be completely an entire digital experience, not just on a chat basis, but actually on a voice basis that has all of the different components that Cognigy AI also has. So let me give you a little bit of an example. What you can see there is actually our WebRTC widget that we have created. And you can see you can display the transcript, but you can also use everything that you have within Cognigy AI. So in here, you see a gallery, and you see shoes, which was not planned with David, but I was happy that he also showed you shoes. But a little story that actually happened to me not too long ago was, not involving shoes, but I got called from my mobile phone carrier, and they were like, oh, hey, your contract is almost expiring. What can we give you that you actually stay? And then they actually started talking about so many things. They were like, oh, we can give you this phone, we can give you that phone for a better price. And they listed so many things. And we're like, hey, you can also reach out to our AI agent and call it. I do not remember that many things. It was a lot. It was overwhelming because there was no UI. They told me a lot of comparisons, but I couldn't see it. So that is one of the use cases, how you can actually use this, because, of course, the customer still hears it. It is not a chat experience. It's actually still a call, but your AI agent is at the same time also showing you what actually he's talking about. I have one more example. That's why, so usually, if I introduce myself in German, I say my name is Dilek Imseytoglu. So everyone understands my last name. Because as a Turkish person, I would usually say, hi, I'm Dilek Imseytoglu, and I can promise you no AI agent will actually understand my last name. So it is pretty difficult to actually, if I book something or need to give in my email address there, and no, that is not my real email address, don't try to email it. But usually I have struggles with this experience because no AI agent will basically understand what I'm saying. Therefore, what will also be a help for me, if I use any of your services, would be you can create your WebRTC widget, you can talk to it, but at the same time, you can also add one text box to it that, in my case, as an example, I could, instead of saying it, I could basically just write it in there. And with that, you would create this entire multimodal experience for me that I can still communicate with the AI agent. It doesn't open a second session. It's still the entire same session. The AI agent, of course, has information about everything that you paste in there. So it will continue and could ask, like, hey, is this right? Can you please confirm? Perfect, email sent. And this is basically what we mean with multimodal. It's not that that you have a voice session, but you can use really quite a lot of different components that we have in the entire platform to create the best user experience. And now, let's, of course, also have a look into how you would build that, how it's being configured, what is changing in the platform. And for that, let's have a quick look into how we actually set up Voice Gateway, because there are quite a few changes. So in our Voice Gateway, if you are a voice customer, you will know we have our Voice Gateway portal. In that portal, you basically connect your SIP trunk, you add your phone numbers, your speech provider, so you do all of the basic configurations in there. Then we have our Voice Gateway endpoint. In a Voice Gateway endpoint, you basically make sure that you're connected to the right AI agent. And the endpoint basically goes and forwards all the transcripts, etc., to the actual flow that you want to use. It is a lot of work, I have to admit. It does take a little bit of time. But what is now happening with WebRTC? How can you then configure this? Because for WebRTC, we actually only have two components. We have our endpoint, which you can see on the left. You can see our actually pre-made WebRTC widget in there. So basically what you can do with the WebRTC widget, you can completely override the CSS classes, as an example, to make sure that it fits to all of your corporate branding. So it is a ready-to-use widget where you can see the transcript. You can also disable the transcript. I would always recommend showing it. It makes life so much easier. But it's basically ready-made You can just embed it into any website, your customer portal, etc. But I do have to say the fanciness of WebRTC actually comes with our SDK, because the SDK basically allows you to do everything with it. The SDK is basically just the backend of WebRTC. It just makes sure that we have the connection, and you're free to build your entire front end the way you want to. You actually saw this right side on Sebastian's presentation yesterday. The demo that he had with the app, where you could, what did he book? The sunset cruise, something like that? So that was actually not just something fake, it was actually fully built with our SDK to show you guys this is what we can do. You can literally build anything with it. So I would definitely recommend to use the SDK, because you can have an entire custom experience through that. You can decide, OK, I want to show buttons, I want to show a gallery. You can completely do that throughout the SDK. Now, let me also show you why I went through all of the different components, because there are a few changes that we actually have within the portal to make your guys' lives easier as well. So basically, the way you really set up the product or WebRTC is you go to our project settings. So on the left side, you see step 1. You go into Cognigy AI, to your project settings. In there, you have one section which is called voice preview settings. You add your speech provider. I think most of you should be used to that, as you use this for other things as well within the platform. The next step, you go to your voice gateway endpoint. I'm not sure if the people really in the back will be able to read that, but there's a little button in the voice gateway endpoint which says Set up WebRTC integration. You click on it, and then you wait for 1 to 2 seconds, because the rest of it is actually being done by us in the backend. So what we are actually doing for you now is we go through our voice gateway portal, we create the speech providers, we create the application, we make sure the application is linked to the right endpoint, we make sure that the right speech provider is also configured within that endpoint, and then we create an HTML embedding link for it. This URL will already connect all of your application details, and the only thing that you will then see is that is being updated in the voice gateway endpoint, that you then have your WebRTC HTML embedding link. You take it, and then you basically embed it into your website. So we basically go from this to leaving out the portal, halfway leaving it out. There's one use case where you might need to go to it, and that is the connect SIP trunk part. Because, of course, the new thing that we use is WebRTC. That's completely different than the usual SIP calls that we have. So if you want to do a handover from WebRTC, from the widget, to your contact center, you would still need to add one SIP trunk to have the outbound call configuration. So we can actually access or hand over the call to your contact center. Anything else will not be needed. We don't need phone numbers. We don't need to configure the speech providers. And you do not need to think about the routing, going into it, creating the application, copying the endpoint URL, etc. The main thing that you're going to do is you go to our voice gateway endpoint and make sure that you actually have a speech provider created in your project, and then you click on the button, and you are ready to go. This is, for me, one of the most important things, because I mean, as a product manager, I talk to a lot of our customers. And I know that sometimes you're struggling with, OK, we go from the portal, and then we go back to Cognigy AI, and then we go back to the portal. So we're really trying to move everything to Cognigy AI, making sure that not just your users have the best experience, but also you guys, as our users, of course, also should have the best experience. Now, I talked so much about our voice gateway endpoint, and there are actually a few changes that we now have in there, which I really would like to talk about, because they're actually cool. So basically, you have a new section that says WebRTC widget settings. You can enable and disable the widget in case you have embedded that somewhere. Of course, if something happens, if someone's spamming, you would like to click on one button to actually disable it again. Just like I'm pretty sure all of you used our web chat. So just like the web chat widget, you can configure all of your AI agent settings, like the name, a tagline, an avatar URL. The cool part is, here you can see we have a theme. We actually created 3 pre-configured themes for our WebRTC widget, a little bit also as a guidance on what you could do with it, a little bit of an inspiration. So we have a dark mode, we have a white clear mode, and we have AI purple. It includes different things on how you can display the transcription, how it would look like without the transcription. Of course, now with WebRTC to make things easier, and since you're used to it from our web chat endpoint, we also have a button to enable the privacy notice. So before you actually have to call, so if it's embedded on your website, as an example, if you would click on the button to call, you would see a little pop-up that could then be, hey, this is a conversation with an LLM. Do you agree to it? If they accept, we set up the connection. If they do not accept, it doesn't even start the call. So it makes everything a bit easier. Now the fancy part. I will not even go in that customization, but literally on this part down here. It says demo page. Because as you can see on the top right, our voice gateway endpoint will have a demo page, just like the web chat endpoint. What can you do with it? You could create your custom background. You could take a picture, a screenshot of your website, just to test it out, put it as the background. You can check, OK, where do I want to have the widget centered? Should it be in the middle and the right corner? And I actually have something for that. I basically just took a picture of our website, just to look into, OK, how would it actually look like? In here, down there, you can see the 3 different themes. And the reason why I wanted to show this so quickly is, how do you currently test voice? If you want to share something or a new improvement with your manager, your stakeholders, what do? You tell them, hey, this is the phone number. Can you please call it? Please test it out if it's good now. Well, you will not need that anymore, because with WebRTC, you will have a link of the WebRTC demo page. You copy it, you paste it to your stakeholders, and they can just give it a call without having the entire issue with, OK, let me now call a number, let me dial a number. OK, maybe it's we're in Germany, but it's a US number that might be expensive. So we're basically, or hopefully, solving quite a few problems. Then let's have a little bit of a recap of what WebRTC is, what benefits will you have through that. I mean, let's start with you click, and you're already connected. I think that is the biggest benefit that any end customer will actually have. But what else comes with WebRTC is actually the low latency. Because with SIP calls, we need to go through all of the data networks, the entire SIP stuff. There is always more latency. There will always be more latency. That is normal. We do not have that issue with WebRTC. And in addition, we're not bound to the carriers anymore. That also means that we can change the audio codec to actually have a better, more HD audio. And if anyone is interested, we're using Opus with WebRTC, which does make quite a difference. The other part is you can really seamlessly, you can integrate it to anything, literally anything. It might be through just the widget. It might be on your website. As I said, it might be your customer portal or even your custom apps. So there's no limitation anymore because you just need to click. And that's it. And yeah, I think the most important part of all of this is that you are just not limited anymore. Because voice usually was, OK, let's have a talk. And now you can basically use the entire Cognigy AI suite to fancy up your experience. Now I do need to check my time, how much I need to hurry. Because there is one thing before I go to my last demo. I do have a story for that demo, because that is not what I actually had planned to show you guys. What I had planned was to actually show what Sebastian showed yesterday and to have a deep dive into it. But during the weekend, I actually had a friend that came over. His name is Dimi. And I am lucky to have him, because he always gives me a lot of inspiration of really good use cases. And so basically, over the weekend, I completely changed my presentation to fit to his use case. So He's a little bit more on the older side. He's not too technical, so a few things are a bit difficult for him. He actually needed to buy some hardware. That was the reason why he came over, because he at one point gave up. Because if you ever bought hardware, the stores, they're complicated. There's so many options, and you really need to understand or know what you're looking for to actually know where to click. So I told him about my WebRTC product. And I was like, hey, if I would do following things, would this actually help you? And he was like, that's exactly what I need. And then he was sad that that company was not one of our customers. But might change, who knows? And that's how I basically built up our Cognigy store. Because it was about hardware, so I thought, perfect example, let's definitely go for it. And no, we're not selling hardware yet. Who knows what comes in the future, but not planned yet. So what you can see is Cognigy store, completely based on what my friend told me. And on the right side, you will see our WebRTC widget. And during the conversation that will happen now, you will see that I on purpose muted myself, just to make sure that I can show you a few examples, because Dimi, my friend, has 2 little kids. Sometimes they scream, and the AI agent should not recognize that they're screaming or whatever they're saying. So we have a little bit of muting in here to also show, OK, how can the experience be if you suddenly are in a loud environment and cannot talk anymore?
Hi, I'm Mina Amelia, your Cognigy Store AI. How can I assist with your build today?
I'm looking for a high-performance processing unit.
We have several options. Are you looking for the Core X Ultra or something more specialized for neural processing?
Core X Ultra.
Excellent. The Core X Ultra is our flagship. However, if you are looking for better... Certainly. I've brought up the comparison matrix.
Cool.
As
the
you can
Core X Ultra has liquid cooling readiness. That is what I was looking for.
Sharp eye, that's correct. It's built for sustained peak performance. Done. I've added the Core X Ultra to your system build. Is there anything else you'd like to adjust?
And that is basically one of the main things you can do with WebRTC, because as I said, WebRTC will not just be the AI agent that you basically call, but it will be part of the entire UI. So your customers do not need to do everything manually. The entire UI will interact with your AI agent. And yeah, I hope that we can make all of your customers' lives easier through that. So my question to you guys is, why are you even still dialing if you can basically click to voice connect? And usually, we do not do this, especially not at a Nexus event. But there is something I am really, really happy and proud to announce, because WebRTC, or Voice Connect, will actually be released next Tuesday on the 17th of March. Thank you, thank you. I'm really proud that we can actually announce this at Nexus. And I really hope that you all will be connecting your customers with voice more efficiently. Thank you.